They called her Jaya not by name but by title. The moon without shadow. A queen whose presence dulled mirrors, whose breath silenced entire corridors, whose robes whispered louder than the mouths of her court. She ruled not with rage, but with distance. A beautiful kind of terror, soft as silk, cold as polished jade. Her palace, nestled deep within the northern mountains, was a labyrinth of silence. No dogs barked within its walls. No birds were permitted in its courtyards. Wind was muffled by layers of draped velvet. It was said that the sun itself dimmed when she walked under it. She came to power not by birth, but by selection chosen from among 100 noble daughters. Her beauty was unmatched. Her voice? Never raised. Her eyes always lowered. Her silence, the empire decided, meant obedience. But silence, they would later learn, was only a symptom. The madness came later. Or perhaps it had always been there beneath the flawless skin, behind the serene smile wrapped tight in etiquette and pearl-threaded hairpins. It began with mirrors. One morning, a handmaiden was found beaten for polishing a silver dish too clearly. The empress, upon seeing her reflection, had collapsed screaming. The court physician claimed she was struck by a sacred fever. The astrologer said the moon had cursed at her house. The eunuchs were told to remove all reflective surfaces at once. Then came the silence. No one was to speak in her presence unless addressed. No footstep louder than a breath. Servants walked backwards out of her chamber. Even the birds in the royal garden were caged and covered by silk so their songs would not echo. Still, the empress bathed, and that is when the fear began to fester. She insisted on bathing alone, but protocol demanded at least 3 attendants. Young girls were trained, selected, and blindfolded before every visit to the royal bathhouse. But Jai was not satisfied. "What is blind can still imagine," she once murmured. The court assumed she spoke in poetry. She did not. One winter night, as steam curled like serpents through the bathhouse, she summoned her chief seamstress. And with a voice soft as first snow, she said, "Stitch their eyes. I want no ghosts behind their lids. I want stillness. I want dark." The seamstress, trembling, asked, "Your Majesty, permanently?" Jai looked away, then whispered, "Yes, let them forget light forever, so that I may wash without being seen." And so it was done. 3 girls, young, unknowing, brought into a silk-curtained room beneath the bathhouse. Their faces were painted white, their mouths silenced by petals, and before they could scream, the first needle pierced. They were called the 3 silent doves. No names, no past. Only stitched eyelids and soft footsteps. In the records of the palace, they were listed not as servants, but as fixtures like tapestries or incense burners. They were white, always white. Their presence was not to be announced. Their purpose was not to be questioned. They moved by sound, by memory, by pain. Each morning, before the empress bathed, the girls were led into the stone chamber with hands upon the shoulder of the one before them, like children in a blind parade. They bowed not from reverence, but by habit. Their world was forever dimmed behind threads of red silk, knotted tightly through lids that no longer bled. And Jai? She would sit in her bath of rosewater and rain, naked beneath the canopy of gold-leaf screens, her skin like porcelain glazed by fear. She did not speak to them. She did not look at them. She only bathed, slowly, silently, watching the steam rise as if it might hide her from a universe of imagined stares. And yet, each time her gaze fell upon their covered faces, a single thought echoed louder and louder in her skull. They are still watching. She began to dream of eyes, thousands of them. Eyes beneath her bed, behind her robe, inside her tea. Eyes blinking beneath floorboards, behind the clouds, beneath her own fingernails. The palace physicians prescribed lotus root and crushed pearls. The monks burned scrolls of protection, but nothing quelled the thing that writhed behind her eyes. So she ordered a new decree, let the rest be sewn. The court paused. Your Majesty, the others? All who have seen my body, even in memory. That included 5 maids, 2 bath stewards, 1 eunuch, and her former wet nurse. The surgeon protested. He disappeared the next day. The empress grew thinner. Her appetite turned to ash. The more eyes she silenced, the more she believed the world was watching. Her madness no longer whispered it, now rang like bells. One night, the captain of her guard awoke to find a note beside his bed, scrawled in trembling brush. I saw myself in a dream. She stared back. I must unsee her. By morning, he had put out his own eyes. The palace fell into ritual. The baths were drained weekly. The eyeless maids were now 7. And Jayashi began to bathe not in water, but in milk and ink, believing the darkness would hide her from even the gods. But no ink could hide the truth. She was not afraid of others seeing her. She was afraid of seeing herself. In the 14th year of her reign, Jayai vanished from the grand court. No proclamations, no funerals, no mourning drapes hung. The ministers were told she had fallen ill and entered the Chamber of Clouds, a private wing deep beneath the inner palace, where emperors once waited to die in silence. But silence, as always in Jiai's world, meant something else. It meant containment. Those who built the Chamber of Clouds never spoke of it again. Some were rewarded, others were never seen. The architect himself was found with a mirror shard embedded in his chest, his final expression caught in a frozen scream, as if he'd seen something not meant for mortal comprehension. Inside, Jai had ordered the walls polished to perfect black stone. No doors, no tendons. Only a single bowl of ink, replenished daily by unseen hands, and a bronze mirror sealed beneath a cloth she forbade anyone to touch. She remained there for 9 years. In that time, the empire changed hands twice. Famine swept through the northern provinces, but within the palace, the legend of the eyeless court grew. New handmaidens were chosen from orphan daughters. Before they learned to speak, they were taught to bow and to bleed quietly. Their eyes were sewn not as punishment, but as initiation, a sign of devotion. The bathhouse became a holy space, the house of closed sight, and the queen. She had not spoken in years, until one night. She called for a mirror. The eunuchs hesitated, but no one disobeyed a voice like that, a voice that rose from below like smoke from a cursed scroll. They brought the artifact, the sky mirror, a polished obsidian disc, once used in royal sacrifices to show the soul's reflection before death, wrapped in tiger skin silk, hung with jade bells. The moment it entered the Chamber of Clouds, the candles extinguished. Jai unwrapped it herself, and for the first time in decades, she looked. What she saw has never been recorded. But what followed was, she screamed. Not a cry, not a shriek, a scream that split the tiles, cracked the lacquered beams, and shattered the porcelain bowls in 3 surrounding halls. When the guards finally broke the seal and entered the chamber, they found her collapsed beneath the mirror. But not dead, her hands torn with scratches as though trying to claw out her own eyes. And yet one eye remained intact, open, frozen wide, and staring at the ceiling. They tried to cover it, but each time they did, it bled. They tried to close it, but the lid would not fall. They tried to burn the body, but the flame refused. So they buried her beneath the bathhouse, in a hollow sealed by 12 layers of silk and salt, and swore never to utter her name again. But the name remained, scratched into the stone beneath her tomb. A single character. Generations passed. Dynasties fell like silk drapes in the wind, quiet and forgotten. The palace, once carved from moonlight and snow, crumbled into a skeleton of white stone. Ivy overtook the courtyards. Wolves nested in the throne room. The empire erased the name Jai from its records, but the bathhouse remained. Its doors, sealed by centuries of superstition, were left untouched. No soldier dared enter. No historian mapped its chambers. It was whispered that the air inside never grew stale, that no matter the season, the stone within remained wet, and that some nights from beneath the earth you could still hear water dripping as if someone were bathing in silence. Then came May, a girl born from dirt and frost, orphaned by plague, raised in the shadow of temples. She was 16 when she arrived at the ruins with a group of monks tasked with documenting the last breath of the old gods. But May was not a monk. She was a scribe's assistant, curious, quiet, and when the others slept, she wandered. It was on the third night that she found the bathhouse of closed sight, a door sealed by 12 wooden beams. But something had already split them, something from inside. She should have fled. But something called her. The air beyond the threshold was heavy with steam that had no source. The walls bore murals faded by breath, not time. Women knelt in rows, their faces blank, threads crossing their lids like a forest of scars. And in the center of it all, a sunken pool, dry now, but stained black. May descended. She found no bones, no offerings. Only a thin thread of golden silk, trailing from the pool's edge into a crack in the floor. She followed it. The steps beneath her were damp, each one colder than the last. At the bottom, a chamber opened before her round, soundless, lined with 12 mirrors, all shattered. All except one. In the center lay a single stone coffin, sealed by jade clasps, untouched by time. She approached. Her hand trembled. She brushed the lid. It slid open without force. Inside, no corpse, only a shroud of red silk, and beneath it an eye. Not rotted, not blind, open, alive. It looked at her, and May could not look away. She blinked, but the eye remained. She turned to run, but her legs forgot motion. She opened her mouth, but her voice drowned in stillness. And then a thread moved. She did not remember the sewing. Only the cold bite of silk, only the warm touch of blood, only the words that burned behind her eyes. Now I may bathe again. When the monks awoke, May was gone. They searched for days, but found only a trail of water leading to the broken bathhouse door and a thread of red caught on the nail of a shattered screen. Years later, tourists claim to see a girl at the ruins. She wears white. She walks without sound. She never blinks. And if you listen closely beneath the moonlight, you'll hear the faint sound of someone breathing just behind you, waiting for you to turn and see